of you today so as to make you realize that you are all in a professional field right now. You are all going to get a degree in engineering. So, right now, beginning from today, beginning from now, we need to take responsibility. We need to take onus of what our future holds for us. So, it is in our hands what we want to make of our lives. And hence, this topic was very apt, which will help you to make those right decisions and which will take you a very long way ahead in your life. So it's professional ethics in the VUCA world for the millennial engineers. Now, how many of you have heard this term or an acronym VUCA before this invitation was sent to you? For me too, it was the first time to hear this word. VUCA is volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. It tells you how complex our situations could be. Now, this word, this acronym, was first coined by the US Army after the 9/11 terrorist attack. And mind you, this was the same situation they all faced. After the terrorist attack in the business fraternity in the US, it was a very complex situation because there was a downfall. The economy was paralyzed and they had to get back on their feet. And when I was asked to take this topic on ethics, I couldn't find a better comparison than this, that we too are facing the same scenario today in 2020 when we are caught and grappled with this pandemic COVID 19 and we are paralyzed. We are kept at home. We are not able to do our routine activities. The economy is down. But still, today, even in this situation, probably today it's the COVID 19, tomorrow it could be something more adverse. We do not know what the future holds for us. It's quite unpredictable. Therefore, in whatever circumstance, whatever problem that we face, and however small it is, we need to stand firm, ethically grounded, to be progressive and happy. And that's what I believe, and that's what I feel will make a change and help you to move ahead. So, going a little further, how does all this happen? I want to take you all through the functioning of the brain. So, this is a pictorial representation of the human brain. As you can see, this is the emotional brain, the amygdala and the hippocampus. And this pink matter that you can see is the neocortex. And this is only in human beings. Whereas this emotional brain, as we have evolved over a period of time, we have a part of the reptilian brain, which is the brain stem. We have a part of the mammalian brain, which is the emotional brain, what we call as the limbic system. And this neocortex is what we only as humans have. So, this is a gift that we have, which helps us to make analytical decisions, to think correctly, to understand the situation. But most often, we do not use it correctly. So now we'll see what exactly how the brain functions. Now, whenever there is a situation that you face in your life, I couldn't think of something better because you could connect to this situation. You have to submit your assignments, and there are only 2 days left for the submission date. So, how does your brain react to this situation? Very interesting. There is a reticular activating system, that's a bundle of neurons between the pons and the medulla. And this is very powerful. Why? Because it acts as a filter for all the sensory information that you would probably experience. And only what is important for you, as you term important, will cross that filter and enter into the conscious mind. What you feel unimportant will be pushed aside. And this happens every time, whenever we are faced with any situation. So what happens now for you at this point of time? This situation is important. You have to submit your assignments. So there is a stimulus given to the amygdala. And why is this first activated? Because, as I mentioned earlier, this is a part of the mammalian brain which deals with your basic instincts, your basic desires. And this is what gets activated first. What does it do? It releases neurotransmitters, and there are emotions which are felt within you. There is a release of emotions. And probably there is fear, there is anxiety, which is the most basic emotions which all of us feel. And so you feel, okay, how am I going to complete it? How will I finish this? Probably I can just copy paste and submit it and finish the whole matter, and I'm out of it. And most of the times, most of us, around 60 to 70% of people, usually react at this point of time. And so you have heard this very commonly said, these people act at the spurt of the moment. They do not give time to think. And this exactly happens because you act on your emotional feelings at this point. Still further, if you give it some more time, what happens is there is a connection between the prefrontal cortex. Now your stimulus is even carried further into the analytical brain. And there is a thinking process which has started beginning. And there is a connection between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system, the emotional brain. This helps you to understand the situation and take analytical steps to make a proper decision. Besides this, there is something else which helps to activate your thinking to go in a correct direction. And this six-letter word is what we are going to talk about today is ethics. Now, ethics, or in simple words, your value system, okay, is going to help you to make morally correct decisions. So, after some point of time of thinking, of analyzing, of understanding the situation, knowing the consequences, probably you would come to this decision. I don't think it is the right way to copy paste, but probably what will help me to understand the subject properly is to give an original submission. So, this is a simple way how your brain acts. Moving ahead, what helps us to form or develop this ethics? It's a very important term, but sometimes used very loosely. This great psychoanalyst, Dr. Sigmund Freud, has explained it very beautifully when he has explained three components of personality. He talks about the id, the ego, and the superego. Now, what is id? In simple language, a child crying in the middle of the road, throwing a tantrum, Mama, I want a chocolate right now. I want right now. My desire has to be fulfilled right now. Dad, I want the keys of the bike right now. I want to go for a drive. I do not want to hear what you are saying. So these are the basic pleasurable instincts that we all have somewhere down beneath. And as we grow, as we move ahead in life, there is another part of the personality which develops. That's the ego. And the ego tries to tell you realistically, right now, probably it's not the right situation. You need some time. This is not the correct situation. So it helps you to think realistically according to the situation. A third component, which we are all interested in for today's ethics, is the superego. Now, what is the superego? It is a component of personality that is composed of internalized ideas, which we all have probably imbibed from our parents. When I say parents, I mean to say, suppose in childhood you have been asked to follow a particular routine. You have been asked to follow certain rules that you have to abide in the house, and you have done that. So slowly that becomes a part of you. You have internalized those sort of discipline, those sort of rules within you, and that becomes your conscience. So those are acquired from parents. When I say society, I mean to say learned behaviors. When you watch somebody in society, how that person is behaving, and then you see what are the consequences he faces. So, sure enough, you're able to gauge it and you're able to come to some conclusion that this is a right way of behavior, this is the wrong way of behavior. So, this is again what you learn. So, this helps in developing your superego. What does the superego do? It suppresses the pleasures and the urges of the id and makes the ego behave morally rather than realistically. So, we are going one step ahead to decide whether we are doing something right or wrong. This helps in building our ethics. Now, what are ethics? Ethics originates from the Greek word ethos, which means our one's own character. So basically, you can equate it to the character of a person. Many psychologists have given different definitions, but I just picked up one for you to understand what is ethics. So, according to Richard William Paul and Linda Elder, a set of concepts and principles that guide us in determining what behavior of ours helps or harms the sentient creatures. Now, sentient creatures is a general term given to all creatures who can feel and sense pain, emotions. So, all of us, humans, animals, birds, so whoever can sense and feel are sentient creatures. So, this is ethics for you and how we as human beings can develop the ethics within us. So, going still further, now, if you go back to the functioning of the brain, and I said that there was a connection is struck between the analytical brain and the emotional brain. And when that connection strikes, that's the time you are able to make probably correct or balanced decisions. Similarly, when you use ethics, when you're making your decisions, sure enough, you're able to make much more stable and balanced decisions in your lives. So, what are the values that could help you to build up the ethics within you? A few of them that I could enumerate. One is resilience. So, having a lot of strength within you to stick to your ground, wisdom, making correct decisions. Responsibility is something what I wanted to focus more on. Now, for example, okay, engineering was not your first choice. You didn't want to come here. There was something else on your mind, but you were pushed on with by your parents, probably mother or father. But now you are here. Invariably, you are going to complete and you are going to go back after 4 years, 5 years as an engineer. If you do not take a liking towards your subject, if you do not take responsibility right now that I am going to learn the maximum, you would not be able to be competent enough to do your responsibilities as an engineer. You would not be competent enough to check on all the parameters, what is required for an engineer to see. For example, safety. For example, to see the safety and the risk factors of the society and the people who are involved. So it comes back to us right now. So we take responsibility of what we are doing so that we are able to do it to our best and give to the society our best. The next is justice, doing justice to the work we do, doing justice to the institution that we are with. So justice in all fields. Compassion is another thing I wanted to focus on. So most of us are so caught up with all these pressures and we try to just finish the job and move out with it. But we lack that sensitivity. We lack that compassion which we need in today's world. We need to be compassionate and sensitive about the needs of others. And if you, as an engineer, can bridge that gap and be more sensitive whenever you are doing something, okay, some job of yours, and if you add that sensitivity, my goodness, you're going to be at the top. So, compassion is very important. Honesty with your job. Honesty, if you're in a company, you have a certain guidelines to follow. You're honest with yourself, you're honest with people. You are trustworthy. So slowly you are able to achieve more and more in your life. And people are going to trust you with bigger jobs. So you need to show that trust. And lastly is respectful. So being very respectful, respecting the work that you are doing, respecting yourself for who you are, very important, because only then will you respect the other person who you are dealing with. So this is in short the values that will help you to develop your ethics. Okay, during just a small, during the whole session, if there is something that you would like to ask, just pen it down, or probably you can put it on the chat box, because I'm not able to connect or see what are, the reactions on your faces. So probably this is, a downfall when it comes to virtual webinars. But I suppose we have to move ahead in life and we have to learn something even in this lockdown period. So we need to adapt to it. So put in your questions so that I can answer it later. I hope you are all with me right now. Okay, so moving ahead, types of ethics. We spoke about ethics. Okay, this reminds me of another definition, okay, which is given by the Cambridge Dictionary. So it says ethics is a word can be used interchangeably with morality. And yes, most of us say ethics is something that you're doing right and wrong. But what I feel is ethics is something much more to that. Ethics is not only limited to black and white, but there could be gray areas. There could be many areas that we need to focus on when we are analyzing whether this situation was ethical or not. Whether we, or when we are making decisions, whether we are taking ethical decisions or not. So ethics is quite multifaceted. So we could ask questions like, what was the motive behind it? Whether it was good or bad? What were the consequences? Was this action done in some kind of defense? Is the action justifiable? Okay, this Mr. X was a very virtuous man. How come he made such an unethical decision? There could be something else. We need to find out. Okay, so because of all these things, there were psychologists like Jeremy Bentham, Stuart Mill, Aristotle. These are a few that I could mention. There are a couple of, there are some more who have given types of ethics, and innumerable ones. So, but I've just chosen five which you could connect with. So, one is utilitarianism or consequentialist. That is, when you check on the result. What is my action going to do? Is my action going to be harmful, or is my action going to be helpful? Whether it's going to be good or bad, the end result. The second is deontology. Okay, it deals with duty and obligation without thinking of the consequences that could follow your action. Right now, I'm a student of the institution. What is my duty towards this institution? I'm a son of this house. What is my duty? What is my obligation as a son of this house? So that is deontology. Going further, there's virtue ethics. When we talk about virtue ethics, it's not just one virtue. We talk of the whole personality. Now, as I mentioned to you with that example, Mr. X is a virtuous man. So he is he's a personality filled with good virtues, good value system. So it's the good character that we possess. To name a few virtues: compassion, generosity, perseverance, courageous. Okay, these are a few to mention for you to get an idea of it. The fourth is ethics of care and relational. It is connected to people who cannot take care of themselves, the old, the elderly, the homebound, people who cannot look after themselves, and you take an extra step to show that care and love. For example, a person who is, an alcoholic and has fallen on the road. So a policeman sees him and takes him to a center and makes arrangement for him to get admitted to a rehab center where he's aware that things will be taken care of in a better manner. So you're resolving the issue with compassion, with caring. And the last is applied ethics. Now, what is applied ethics? What the individual is permitted or obligated to do in a particular situation or a professional field. For example, biomedical ethics, business ethics, medical ethics, and engineering ethics. Now, to name a few in business ethics, it could be inter-organizational relationships, a contract violation, or probably deceitful practices. And what I feel you are more concerned about, and today's topic is for you all, is engineering ethics. So the next slide is for you. Okay, so code of ethics in engineering. It's the same thing, but the main focus is here on first, safety, health, and welfare of the public. So you need to be very cautious when you're taking decisions. Secondly, performing in areas of your competency, not jumping into something that you are not competent and you're not well equipped with. Issuing public statements in a truthful manner. Being very faithful with your job, not going with deceitful practices. And most important, what I want to focus here is to honor all your responsibilities ethically and lawfully. Why? Because if you are going to do your job professionally as a professional engineer, ethically sound and lawfully competent, you will surely help the others to understand and to give value for the engineering field. Because through you, they will see what engineers are come into the millennial world. So they will respect and they will honor you and the profession. So again, it depends on us how we portray ourselves as professionals. Now, what are ethical dilemmas? Time and again, we are, again, I use the word, we are constantly running, we are constantly achieving, we have certain goals to accomplish. So in that constant hustle and bustle of life, of course, it's not now we are experiencing lockdown, but otherwise, when we are in our normal selves, we sort of do not see the ethical issues that come in the way. So we take decisions which are very quick, fast, and which will give results. So sometimes we are in ethical or we face ethical dilemmas in our lives. So just a cartoon representation. So he gets an F and he's quite upset and he goes to the professor and tells her, "What do you mean? All my facts are wrong?" So she just looks at him. But he said, "I copied everything straight from the internet with all the dots and the punctuation marks. And how come you give me an F?" Okay, so a kind of plagiarism. And this is Kelvin and Hobbes depicting, the common statement we all pass. The ends justify the means. So we don't matter what means you take, how you reach there, but you have reached and you have achieved your goal. So that's fine. To give you a small example of this, the Major League Football League, which was probably in that steroid era, and the players were constantly achieving their goals, playing so well and achieving all the trophies, but they failed to realize that the steroid use within the players was very high. So they were using unethical means, but their focus was so much on achieving something that they did not see all these ethical issues. Now, if you can go back and connect to the functioning of the brain that I explained to you, where the reticular activating system, which is so competent in removing all that you do not consider important and taking only what you feel is important into the conscious mind. So you understand how we all move towards achieving our goals and forgetting about the rest. Why? Because the RAS helps you to do that. So these are probably some of the ethical dilemmas that we may face in our everyday lives. When we deal with ethical or with any issue, with any decision that we need to make, and we do not take a time to ponder whether they are ethical or unethical, and we just want to achieve that goal in life, and in case we are not on the right track, then that simple pleasure, that satisfaction which lived for a very short while, that gratification is not very long lasting. And the wheels, it's like the wheels of the car, right? So the wheels of our life keep on moving and moving, and over a period of time our actions become very unconscious. They just become part of us, and we do not realize that. And it's too late even to apply the brakes on this car of our life. And slowly we ourselves reach into the negative consequences of it. We are isolated, we are probably sad, depressed, feeling ashamed, and slowly going into a feeling of guilt. But how long can you continue with these unethical standards? How long can you be unaware of what's happening in your life? But before it's too late to take a step back, we need to understand what is happening. What is it that keeps on making you do these things without you being consciously aware of it? So, this is termed as the defenses used by us. So, in psychology, we talk about defense mechanisms. Now, these are mechanisms which we instill within us, we learn over a period of time. And these are also called as coping mechanisms because it helps us to cope with any situation that comes our way. It's a good thing. Otherwise, we would not be able to deal with situations, right? But anything has a positive and a negative. If it is used for too long and you are unaware about it and you're unconsciously getting involved in it, then it has a negative feedback. There are negative consequences to it. So, what are the defenses that we are using when it comes to taking ethical decisions? So, very commonly, it is the ethical fading. Now, what is ethical fading? In ethical fading, people's perception of the reality is quite far away, quite indistinct, quite, quite a way that you cannot even see it. It's away from your purview of vision. So much so that you are involved, you're just doing what you're doing. Probably it could be the wrong decision, but you're not aware of the ethical issues involved. Therefore, there's another term which is used synonymously with ethical fading is moral myopia. So myopia is short-sightedness. So this is moral short-sightedness or moral blindness. So we cannot see what's happening. So we're totally blind towards it. So it's okay. So these are the defenses we use to put back our weaknesses or our wrong decisions. The other thing that we use, the other defense mechanism that we use is rationalization, very commonly used by all of us. अरे सब लोग तो करते हैं, हम लोग क्यों नहीं करें? हम लोग क्यों पीछे रहें? Everyone is going through the wrong way. We will also take it. That's the world, yeah. That's the way things go on in life. Okay, so these are excuses that we are giving ourselves. So we need to put a stop to these if we want to take ethical decisions. I think I will take a break here just to understand what you have grasped from or till now that we have done with the sessions. So if I could answer two questions or something.
Yes, ma'am. The first question that we have is by
Yeah.
Miss Monica Pal.
Yes.
Uh, the question is, can resilience sometimes lead to ego?
Yeah. So resilience is something that you are very firm, you are very strong about. Your probably your ideas, your thoughts, your behavior. You could be very resilient about that. Yes, it can lead to ego because probably you feel that what you're doing is right without allowing another person's point of view. And that is where your superego should you should be able to help you to decide whether you're doing the correct thing or the wrong thing. So as we go ahead, I will tell you how to develop this ethical stance within you. What are the 5 steps that you need to take? So probably when you analyze your decision, you will understand where you are going wrong, because it's very important to take another person's point of view. Yes, so when you say resilient and you become quite quite confident about what you're saying, probably you are right, but you do not want the ego to come in the way. So the super ego and how you develop your super ego is very important.
The next question that we have is by Mr. Santosh Chapaneri. It's on the
Hmm.
lines of the cartoon that you had shown.
Yes.
The question is, given the deeply rooted sin of plagiarism in the education system, how should the students be motivated to submit their own work?
So I think uh, this goes from person to person, from student to student, understanding what exactly pushes you. So what is the thought process? See, it's not a generalized thing. So one person could feel that why should I waste my time on all this? This is all rubbish. In the end, it's going to be only Google, and Google will answer all my questions. Another person could feel that I do not have the time now, and I don't think this is a very important topic for me. I might as well pay more attention to something much more, something that I'm passionate about, something that I like. So it's very important to know what is the thought process behind that particular student and why he has actually gone ahead with plagiarism. And then we are able to deal with his thought process if we feel that the thinking behind it is not right. So, again, as I say, the ends do not justify the means. We need to understand why that person has done that particular action. And then we can help the person or encourage that person to know that what he's doing is not right, because right now they only see results which are short term. They do not see the long term results of what they're doing right now. So, that slowly has to be incorporated in them. I hope
Uh, the,
it's answered.
yeah, I think it's answered.
Okay.
The next question we have is by Mr. Pratik Rahate.
Hmm.
Is there a difference between ethics and morals, or do both the things mean the same?
Yes. So morality is part of ethics. It's actually the same. When you say morality and ethics, it goes hand in hand. But there is much more to ethics, as I said. So morality and ethics, yes, as we said, it's interchangeable. But if you broaden your perspective and you see a wider view of what ethics is in day to day activities, we cannot stick to right and wrong. See, as I said, now plagiarism is right and wrong, but you cannot. I feel you need to understand what is the thought process, and that is what is going wrong if you want to make a change in somebody's life. You can point fingers, but why is that person doing is very important. So I think we can move ahead, Jovita.
Yeah, I guess we can move ahead.
Huh? We'll move ahead with
Yeah,
the session.
yes.
Are you getting any feedback from people? People,
So they are currently just using the chat room to ask questions. We have quite a few questions remaining.
okay, okay, because they are with me. I want to know whether
Yeah, yeah, they are with
they
you. So
understand.
the
Okay, okay,
the questions are in line with what is happening on the slides.
yeah. So I will move ahead. Thank you, Jovita. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So we went through the ethical, what are ethics? How can we develop within us? What are the ethical dilemmas that we face in day to day life? And what are the defense mechanisms that we use to make decisions sometimes? So, the million dollar question: how do we deal with ethical dilemmas ethically? And probably this will answer your question on resilience too. So, if you do not have a paper and pen, I want you to grab one right now and just make a note of it. There are 5 A's which I want you to remember. The first A is assessment. So, gathering all the facts about the situation. What are the facts available to me right now at this point of time? Second A, alternatives, considering all your choices. Now, you have assessed the situation from your point of view. Now, I need to know somebody else's point of view. So, whatever the situation or the problem is in whatever field, if you could take another person's viewpoint, probably your parents, your colleagues, your friends, probably your doctor, your mentor, your counselor, anyone whom you're very comfortable with. So find out what do they think about the situation and how would they act. The third A, analysis, validity of the choice. Now you have to use your analytical thinking for that much more. So you have to actually weigh the pros and cons of the situation, of the alternatives that you have sort of kept at bay. So if I do this, what are the consequences? Negative, positive. If I do this, what are the consequences? So you need to analyze it for yourself. The fourth A is application. Now you apply your ethical principles. You tap your superego, your conscience, your value system, and you apply that while you're taking your decision. And the last is action. That is when you make the decision. After you do these 5 steps, I'm sure enough the decision that you take is much more ethically sound. Now, the question is, my goodness, how am I going to do all these 5 steps? I need to act immediately. Can I just waste time on all this? The answer is yes, you need to do it because it is a cycle, it is a process. And if you do it correctly, you will get results correctly. Now, it might take you probably even 20 minutes to think about it. But slowly, when it is internalized within you, when it becomes a part of you, when it becomes the wheels of the life car that you are moving on in your journey, believe me, it's going to take you seconds. And you will be able to behave in a correct manner and make correct decisions. And you will enjoy the fruits of it later in life. So we want you to do that and not regret about the decisions that you had taken now. So later, we do not want you to regret. So if you do these 5 steps, the 5 A's, you are able to make much more ethically sound decisions. Going ahead, how do we keep a check on our decisions? What is important? I want you to remember these 4 parameters. You can even write this down. Society. Is my action going to be of help or harm to society? Am I going to add some value to society with my action, with my profession in life? Second, institution. Am I going to increase the reputation of my institution with my actions? For example, you may say, I'm not in the institution right now, so let me behave as I want to. I am a free bird. Probably I am not adhering to social norms, to societal norms. But mind you, even if you're not in the institution, the arrow always points back from where it is hit. So it is always your background, it's your family, it's the school, it's the institution. So whenever you're doing something, always think back, give it a thought. Is my action going to harm or is my action going to help? like the definition that I explained to you, what are ethics. So, very important. If I'm going to help my institution to get a better reputation, very good. I'm sound ethically. The third is stakeholders. When I say stakeholders, are the people who you are in contact with, the third party, your family, your friends, your very close relatives, people you are in constant touch with. Are my actions going to affect them? Is my behavior, which is not applicable in society, going to affect them? Yes. So we need to give it a thought. And last is yourself, personal. Am I going to benefit from this after all this? You have to think, or is it going to harm me? Very important. That is also important. But priority should be given to the others first. Most of the time, it is topsy turvy, isn't it? We always think of whether I will be benefited from this, leave the rest. People will take care of themselves. Who am I to think about them? And why should I? But this reminds me of, I used to hear Dr. B.M. Hegde's, I used to listen to his videos, a very renowned doctor. And something which struck me, and I remember it, is he relates I to illness and W or we to wellness. And this made me thinking. But now I realize, yes, if we are all to ourselves, if we only talk about I and my things and what am I going to gain out of it, we are not giving anything to society. We are not adding any value. People are not happy with us. And truly, right enough, internally, we are not happy. We are not at peace. And when the mind is not at peace and not happy, the immune system drops down. That's how the mind and the body function. And when your WBC count drops down, you are more prone to infections. You are more prone to illnesses. Whereas if you are in the we category and you think of people first, you think of whether my mom will get affected if I do this, if I just give back to her without understanding, if I just spurt out in an anger, will that affect the other person? If you start thinking and analyzing that way, you will be at peace because there will be peace around you, in your family, in your house. There will be peace and more harmony between your colleagues at work. And that peace and mental happiness within you takes you towards wellness and keeps all the illnesses at bay. Along with this pyramid, I also want you to remember that we need to be aware and constantly check on all the defenses that I mentioned to you, the ethical fading and the rationalization. Are we doing it unconsciously without being aware? Probably you will get a hint from your friends, from your colleagues that, you see, you're not doing something ethically sound. But if you just ignore it and if you say, no, you mind your business, you have no right to tell me that, then you are not evolving as a person. Then nobody is going to help you to change. But if you take it and if you say, yes, maybe I'm not doing something right, I need to analyze, I need to go back, I need to check on myself, that's a positive step. So again, this is a short video that I want you to watch. It depends on the choice that I need to make. CEO of your life, and you need to make the right decision in your life right now if you want a bright future. So, moving ahead, ethical decisions will help me to stand firm. We come back in the VUCA world because we too are experiencing the same scenario. So, how do we change the acronym? So, V stands for the values that we all imbibe. Probably we can still learn now and change our value system for the good. Because let me tell you, friends, the brain is a very powerful organ that we all have. And it has a very important feature known as neuroplasticity, where there is constant firing of neurons. And the more that you learn, the more is inscribed in the brain and it remains with you permanently. So the learning process can be an ongoing process. It doesn't stop. It's not what we have just learned in childhood. No, we can make a change because of this neural plasticity. The second is U. U stands for being unique. Probably most of us would face this when we take decisions different from the rest. We all are doing it. Why aren't you not doing it? We all are into, addictions. Why aren't you not? You will not be socially accepted in the peer group if you do not do this. So when you are unique, when you stand with your values, with your ethics, probably you will not have the herd with you. You might be left all alone. But believe me, you are going to be very happy in the end. And this reminds me of the quote which Brownstein said. He said, a leader doesn't herd, and a leader doesn't blindly follow others' foolishness. But a leader must have a theory which he can understand and see the world clearly. So, very important, be unique and be happy. C stands for cognitive restructuring. Now, we have all these values, probably we want to change them. Yes, you can change them. How? By cognitive restructuring. In simple layman's language, is reframing or changing your negative thought process. And the last is A. A stands for awareness. Very important. Most of the times, we are either in the future or either in the past, stuck with our past experiences. But you said this and you said that. And now I don't want to talk to you. And that's coming in the way of my decision making now. I'm not able to focus on my submission because I fought with somebody and I've not resolved. It's affecting my today, it's affecting my now. So be aware of where you are, what is affecting you, resolve it, get some help, and be able to move ahead in life and not be stuck. So, what is cognitive restructuring? Just a general idea. It's a coping technique which we use in counseling, okay, where we help the client to substitute the negative self defeating thought. We say self defeating because it doesn't allow you to progress ahead in life. And we help the client to substitute it with a positive self affirmative thought or a talk so that the client can now see a stressor as being very friendly and non threatening. So he's able to make friends with the stressor and able to deal with it much more better. This term was coined by Mitchenbaum in 1975. And this is a pictorial representation of how you are changing that one self defeating negative thought with a positive self talk. So, the change helps us to sustain, even in this VUCA world, through the values, through being unique, through cognitive restructuring if we need help, and being aware of all the processes and especially the defense mechanisms that we use. Okay, Jovita, do we have time? Can we?
Yeah, we can take a few questions.
Yeah, we'll take a few questions.
So the first question is by Mr. Baisani. The question is how to develop wisdom.
How to develop wisdom. I think all these things that I have mentioned to you. Wisdom is knowledge, getting well versed with the subject that you are with. Along with that, understanding what is the world's view about it, being able to comprehend that with your study and applying it, time and again. So, helping yourself to develop your super ego, getting the right value systems, and being able to apply it correctly, I feel is wisdom. So, getting enough knowledge and also being able to see the world's point of view and getting input from others, rationalizing and being able to come with a proper understanding.
The next question is by Miss Anjali Chaudhary. What are the elements essential for an institution to formulate a state-of-the-art code of ethics?
Can you repeat it?
What are the elements essential for an institution to formulate a state-of-the-art code of ethics?
I think these the things that I've just mentioned to you about the values that are required. Okay, taking all that into consideration, uh, the responsibility, the compassion, the safety, the sensitivity. I feel all this is very important when you're actually forming the code of ethics, because we need to help the person who is following this code of ethics also to understand that it's very important for him to see something beyond himself, and he's not doing this, or he's not learning or training himself only for the benefits of himself, but he has to see something beyond, where he's able to give back, where he's able to give value to society. So if we are able to take those things and include that, I think that will be helpful even for the individual or the student.
Okay, so before I go ahead with the next question, since it's difficult to understand without looking at people's faces, we have a few positive feedback. The first one is from Miss Priyanka Gonzalez. She says, really informative session. Liked the 5 A strategy about making ethical decisions.
Okay.
The second one is by Miss Shilpa Chaman. She says it was a very good definition of wisdom.
Okay.
Going to the next question, I think this is something that most of us would have. It's a question by Mr. Wakar Ansari.
Hmm.
Is it ever okay to sneak a peek at your child's email? What do ethics say?
So I think if you're doing it out of a right intention, just to monitor your child and see how where he's progressing, again it depends what is the age of the child. Now if you can say a toddler, I would say it's fine, it's good enough. A still older age, a teenager, and going into the 19s 20s, more than having a sneak, I feel we need to form that rapport with the child if we can, to get information from the child and help that child to develop his or her superego with the right kind of values. And time and again, it what happens is, children are observing parents, like it happens with me too. I have two daughters, so it does happen because probably at that time you are unconsciously doing something and the child observes you and says, but you told me to do it that way. So it's very important, secondly, to even check within ourselves that are we practicing the correct way that we want our child to do? Are we actually coming and sharing with, as a couple, are we sharing our things with the spouse? So the child is watching you. So if you are not able to share that, and he's not able to see that with your relationship, then probably he's not able to do it with you. I hope you are able to understand. That's the second part. So that relation with the child, and also, practicing what you want the child to practice is very important.
The next question is by Mr. Joshua Mendes. Why is procrastination dominating self-motivation?
Why is procrastination?
Dominating my self-motivation.
Okay. So it reminds me of a saying I heard: procrastination is the enemy of progress. Okay. So I think you need to remember this, that if you are going to procrastinate every time, you are not going to move ahead in life. So when you are aware of it, that now look, I am not doing this job. I don't want to do it right now. I'll do it at 3 o'clock. So when it's 3 o'clock, no, I'll do it at 5 o'clock. Be aware that what are you doing right now? Take a moment and think, am I really procrastinating? Do I have something really important to do? Or am I just pushing it forward? So when you become aware of it, then you will feel the need to change. Then you understand that why am I doing that? Don't I like the subject? Don't I like what is the topic given to me? If that's the case, I need to change that. I need to like that subject. Or don't I understand it? Then I need to take help from somebody else. So, whatever is the problem, you need to understand, or you need to discuss the problem and get proper solutions for it. But it's always important to stop and check on yourself and say, yes, here I am procrastinating. I need to change myself. And then it will not dominate your self motivation. And then you need to motivate yourself with better rewards, with better goals in life. And you will surely be able to do that.
Do we have the
Yes,
time to take
Kavita.
some more questions?
I wanted actually, is okay. I thought they would ask me the question as to how would we go ahead with cognitive restructuring if we, you know,
Oh, yeah, there is a question by
okay,
Mr.
okay.
Sunil Pansare. The question is, can you please throw some more light on cognitive
Yes, yes. So that's what
restructuring?
I wanted, somebody to ask me, because my next slide was on that. And it's always nice. I always like to end this session with a takeaway. It's always nice to talk a lot. But as a lay person, what am I going to gather and how am I going to help to change myself? I feel is very important. So I want you all to do a short exercise with me so you have an idea, probably a general idea as to how we do cognitive restructuring. Okay, so I will go back to the slide. Okay, so I want you all to take a very relaxing posture, and I want you to close your eyes. It will just take you 5 to 10 minutes. So close your eyes and forget about all that's happening in the surrounding. Just listen to all the instructions that I give you and do as I say. You can continue taking deep breaths and getting into that state. You are faced with any situation in your life. Okay. Take any situation. Now, for the students, to make it more simpler, I would take the situation which we spoke about earlier as to how the brain functions. So I will take that similar situation. I have to submit my assignments and I have 2 days left for submission. I want you all to enter into that scenario, that state of mind, that point of time when you realize that there were only 2 days left and you have not finished anything, or rather, not started anything. Enter into that situation. I want you to sense it. I want you to feel that. If you are a visual person, I want you to see it visually. I want you to see the picture of yourself actually struggling to find matter, going through the sites, not able to find what you want to find, and you're getting upset about it. If you are an auditory person, I want you to feel or imagine or hear the words that probably you heard at that time. Something like, see, you are so lazy. All these days you just wasted and whiled away your time. And now you are struggling. How will you finish? You will not be able to do justice, and it will be a useless presentation or a useless assignment. Probably these are the words that come into your mind and the picture. I want you to move further. What does that mean to you? What does that not doing the assignment properly mean to you? Does it mean that it is a failure? You are a failure? Students and friends will ridicule you? You will be left all alone? Nobody will be with you? What are the thoughts that come into your mind? What is the feeling that it generates? Am I getting anxious? Am I getting angry? Am I getting irritated? I feel nobody understands me. Now I want you to move further. If you are seeing that visual picture in front of you, I want you to change that picture. Now I want you to see yourself as being motivated, being confident. Oh, there's nothing to worry. I am going to put my heart and soul into it. I am an engineer. I've entered into a professional college. What more do I need to be confident about? That I can do it. Even if there are 2 days, I will really slog it out. And you are actually doing it. You're actually finding all the matter, and everything is falling in place. You have got it done, and you are ready for submission, and you're really happy about it. I want you to change the words that you have been hearing. I now want you to say, even though I was lazy, I know that was my drawback. But now I'm going to put in that extra time. I'm going to really put in that time and my whole heart and soul into it. I don't bother about whether my friends are going to say anything about me, but I will do it for myself. I want to be happy. I want to learn something out of it. And I am going to do it. I am going to get motivated to do it. And automatically, there is a change in your emotional state. You feel happy about it. And you're actually pumping in all that energy to finish it. I want you to go a step ahead. All those negative, self defeating thoughts that you had, the beliefs that you were going ahead in life with. If I don't do it well, I will be a loser. I will be a failure. My friends will ridicule me. They will not accept me. Parents will not like me. I want you to throw that all out. I want you to say, I am good at job. I am able to do it. And I will give my 100%. And I will do it well. I do not bother about what people think in this matter. If my conscience is clear, I am taking the right step in doing things, I am putting in my efforts, I know that I am right, then whatever is the consequences, if it is not approved by my professor or if it is not liked, it will not demotivate me, but it will help me to take the changes and move ahead positively. Now, slowly, you can open your eyes and you can just view the slides, the presentation. So, this was situation. Automatically, your automated thoughts, your fixed beliefs, your self defeating thoughts come into play. It is all your experiences in the past. My parents did not like when I got low marks, or my colleagues were not with me, or I got an F in an assignment and they were all ridiculing me. So all that comes into your head. So those are your past negative experiences. And that probably could take you to decisions which are not ethical, leading you to more guilt and unhappiness. What we did now was a cognitive restructuring. It was a short process, what I did with you, but otherwise it's done over a period of time. We did what is called as a guided visualization or a guided imagery, where I was asking you to visualize what exactly you felt and helping you to change that picture, that voice, and then helping you to revert and think positively. And mind you, this works. It helps you more in having an affirmative, self positive talk, helping you to take ethical decisions, and helping you to be free and happy, not bonded by any negative thoughts, negative emotions, and conscience being clear. That's what we want. So, thank you for your patient listening, and I hope this has brought you some more insight into this topic of ethics. I hope I was able to do some justice to the topic and able to answer your questions. If at all there's something else that you would like to ask me, I could share my email address and you could always email me and I could get back to you.
Ma'am, we
Yeah,
have a few questions on the chat box. Can we
yeah.
take them up?
I think if we have the time, I don't know.
Kevin, sir, do we have the time? Okay, I think we'll just take this question
Okay, okay,
because
okay.
I cannot see sir replying.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Yes, Shivika,
question
you can
is
take
by.
you can take few questions.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
before we go ahead, no, I suddenly something struck me. How to develop your wisdom? No, somebody had asked me this question. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, okay. So the other things that you can do along with what I told you is also, meditation, examining yourself, being aware. So this awareness comes only through, breathing exercises, taking that time for yourself and understanding where you stand as a person in terms of your thinking processes. So meditation, yoga, all this will surely help to build in your wisdom. Okay, you can go ahead.
The question by Ms. Deepa Panakal is if someone fails to show ethical behavior, would that mean that instead of being judged, this person needs to be trained further to have a stronger superego that guides them in the right direction? If yes, how?
Yes, yes. I feel you have thought it correctly. Yes. If the person fails to show uh, ethical standards, I think we need to discuss this issue with him or her and understand as to why is he doing this. So again, what is the thought process behind it? And then secondly, he also has to realize it personally. He has to feel that need to change, and then only we'll be able to help him or her to change his thought process, and thus helping him to develop his superego with the change in his value system and be able to take much more ethical decisions.
The next question is by Mr. Wilson Pinto. Why is it that the discussion of ethics has become important?
I think because that's what we use in everyday life, right? And probably the college has seen cases where probably the ethical standards among the students is not met, or probably even in our day-to-day activities, when we are out in society, we do see as citizens of the place. Even in this lockdown, probably we could see people just not following orders. So I think this was a very apt topic where we could discuss as to what exactly comes in the way when people have to think ethically or take ethical stands. So I think this is what I could answer.
The next question is by Abel. Which leader is better in this VUCA world, an introvert or extrovert?
I think you cannot say introvert or extrovert. A leader has to be able to guide the people, to guide the flock. To be a leader in a true sense, I feel you have to interact, you have to understand everybody's point of view. So you just cannot be an introvert or extrovert. You have to be somebody who is compassionate, who is able to understand the sensitivity, who is able to guide the people, able to be confident and show the confidence. So there are so many qualities that a leader should have.
The next question is by Sasinder. How much is a person ethically correct in an organization when he or she is taking decisions for his or her own benefit?
See, again, we are not here to decide whether it's ethically correct or ethically wrong. I'll go back to what I discussed earlier. It's not always right and wrong. It's not always black and white. It is, there are many aspects to it. It's multifaceted. So we cannot take one thing and say, no, she's wrong or right. We have to understand what exactly went into motivating her. Did her actions really do something harm or helped? So there are many areas that one has to deal with or answer to before coming to any conclusion or any judgment.
The next question is by Akhil Nadar. To be a good person, should we work smart or follow VUCA, or are the two the same?
To be a good person,
Should we work smart or should we follow the VUCA world?
I think to be a good person, you should follow your own conscience. That's what the whole topic was all about. It's how you develop your conscience, you strengthen your inner conscience through the inner value system that you have. And that will help you to be a good person, whether you are in a VUCA world or you are not.
The next question we have is by Jonathan Almeida. He actually has two questions. The first question is, does having a high attendance make a student more ethical and disciplined?
See, let me tell you, it's not, see, this could be a part of it, but we cannot take one action of a person and say, he's ethical, not ethical, not ethical. It's an overall picture that you gauge at the end of it. Probably your decisions, yes, you can say maybe attending all the lectures, but also just attending doesn't work. If you are fooling around in class or if you're not paying attention, doesn't make sense to you, right? And then you are disturbing others, so again doesn't make sense. So again you are not practicing ethical standards. So there are many things to it. It's not just attendance, but giving your full attention, participating in the class, asking questions, or answering what is asked to you. And towards the end of it, you have gained some knowledge, and you have even, the peace of the class is not disturbed. So that's important.
The next question is by Mr. Vraj Parekh. Are ethics and communication skills interrelated?
Ethics and communication skills, uh, interrelated in the sense, probably through your communication skills, you would be able to change your alternatives. You are able to see people's point of view because you are able to go and communicate with them your problems, and you're able to get their point of view. So different perspectives, different alternatives, and maybe that helps you in making much more ethical decisions. In that sense, yes.
The next question is by Ms. Shivani. Is behavior always a reflection of one's attitude?
Behavior is a reflection of your thoughts and your emotions. And of course, it's your personality, it's your attitude, is your personality, is what you put forth in front of the world as who you are as a person. That's your attitude. Okay, it portrays who Shivani is or who Meenal is. So, what is the attitude that she portrays? But your behavior probably is what is your thinking behind, what is your thought process, and what is the feeling that's generated will bring about a behavior in you. So that's why when we want to analyze a person's behavior, we always go to the thought process that was involved in forming this behavior. So it's usually the thoughts that bring about the behavior in a person. So if we want to change that behavior, we ask the person or help the person to change the thought process first.
We'll be taking one last question by
Yeah,
Ms. Pallavi. How to keep your ethics intact if you feel that there are some unethical people around you who are achieving goals and you are not?
that's a very good question. Yes. Time and again, we do face these challenges. Uh, Everyone is doing it and achieving. So why should I be left behind? But again, I feel it is from person to person. I feel if your conscience is clear, you should stick to it, and you should stick to your ethical decisions, because what you see of their achieving goals could be just short lived, just could be temporary. That pleasure, that satisfaction, that achievement is temporary. But what goes with you all the way, even as an elderly person, what people remember of you or what you feel happy about is that you have stood with your ethical decisions and you have made a difference to people and made a difference in people's lives. So I think that is what would give you much more pleasure. If you ask me, probably that is what I would stand for. So that is very temporary, what you see right now. And probably everyone is going. Again, I said it is like a herd mentality. If everyone is doing it, why not I? But I could be different, because if it's going to help me, I will do it.
There's one last question that Mr. Hari Prasad has asked, and this is something that I also wanted to ask.
Okay.
If there is a situation in which the decision I make is ethical to the institution, to my friends, to family, to society, but as a person, I am not really happy and satisfied with the decision, what should I do?
Ethical to society, family, and others, but not, it is not ethical to you or you are not happy about it.
I am not happy about it.
Then I feel you need to change, you need to think what exactly you are not happy about. So there could be certain ideas in you, within you, or you can say certain fixed beliefs or certain experiences in the past that trigger off when you think of this, and that doesn't make you happy about. Secondly is uh, you need to understand basically what is it that you are not happy about. I feel that's very important, because and if that also is not answerable, because even if you think about society, about institution, about your stakeholders, it is also important that you should be happy about what you're doing. But if you're not happy, then you have to take a step. You need to pause and you have to understand what is it that's not making you happy. Is it past experiences? Is it something that you're afraid of? Is it the future that you are scared about? Like if you take something right now, if you take a stand right now, is it going to affect me? So then there is a fear. So there is a fear of what? That is what you have to deal with. Because if you take society, if you take people ahead of you, there shouldn't be a problem. You should not feel that unhappiness. But if it exists, yes, it should be dealt with. Because probably it's either the past or it's the future fear or the anxiety of what's going to happen, which is probably not making you feel that free feeling. Are you okay? Or you, Halwa, has
Yeah,
it
I'm
answered
okay.
your question?
Yes. So we have quite a few more
So
questions, but
probably if
I
you
think
go
we could
into
mail them to you.
yeah, if you could go into more detail when it comes to your question and understand exactly, then probably I could help you out. But this is quite a general thing, but you need to analyze it and see what exactly is coming in the way of that unhappiness. Yes, you could email me those questions.
So Kevin sir, I think we can
Yeah.
conclude the session.
Yes, yes, yes. Uh, your students and staff, Dr. Merle Coutinho will be with us in the coming days also. She'll be definitely interacting you. We have so many plans for you in the coming days. So once after the lockdown, definitely when the college reopens, she'll be there in the college to help you out in your problems and your questions. So don't worry, she'll be there with us in the coming days. So now I request Paul Fernandez, who is coordinating this event, to propose the vote of thanks.
I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our director brother Jose Truthil, who has been instrumental in the accomplishment of this webinar. My sincere thanks to our principal ma'am, Dr. Cincy George, for helping us in planning and implementation of this webinar. I would like to convey a deep sense of appreciation to the speaker, Dr. Merle Coutinho, for sharing such insightful thoughts to learn and ponder upon and consciously use them in our decision making. I am sure this webinar will help us in imbibing ethically sound values such as resilient, wisdom, compassion, honesty, sensitivity, respect, and such, which will help us in improving our own selves. We indeed had a webinar on professional ethics in the values, unique cognitive restructuring, and awareness world for millennial engineers. Thank you, Dr. Merle. I also wish to thank all the participants, and I believe you all have a feeling of worth participating in this webinar. I would now like to make a special mention of Dr. Kevin Noronna and thank him for leading and guiding the organizing team since the inception of the idea of having this webinar. And also Mr. Johnson Penn, who has provided technical support to carry out this webinar in a smooth and uninterrupted manner. Once again, a big thank you to you all. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Okay. Thank you, brother.
Whether if you have something to add,
It was an excellent seminar. Congratulations. All the best.
Thank you.
God bless.
yeah. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, everyone. I'll stop the streaming now. Thank you.